welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, a production of Helix Cloud Games. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels himself, Mr. Richie.
Hello there.
Hello indeed. And welcome, Richie, to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast. We will reiterate that for folks who may have seen a slight change to our overall channel. The Sounds of Stadia Podcast, episode number 101, where myself, Richie, and sometimes Tom round up all of the Stadia and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure. Whether you're catching us on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or on podcast services out there in the digital cloud by searching for Sounds of Stadia, you will still find it in the same places that you love so dear already. We've got a great show for you all this week, talking about all of the Gamescom news. Maybe it relates to Stadia, maybe some of it doesn't. Talking about an exciting new rumoured leak suggestion of a Star Wars Mandalorian game being developed on Stadia. We've got video footage. Is it real? Is it not? We'll talk about that this week. We're also going to be discussing your September Pro games if you are a Stadia Pro subscriber. Much, much more. All round up into a lovely digital tasty package for people to enjoy. But let's address, Richie, the elephant in the room before we delve into it. Of course.
Yeah, I think we should.
Of course. Where is Mafia Trilogy? I'm joking. We might get into that later on, we'll see. Yeah. Of course, us three here at the Sounds of Stadia podcast have just gone through a bit of a channel change. If you're listening on podcast services and you notice the logo now says Helix Cloud Games underneath the original logo, that's not a mistake. It's fully intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Just like with the YouTube channel, all of our Twitter and social feeds. Myself and the other two gentlemen have had a long conversation. It's been going on for quite some time now about the direction of the channel and the overall approach that we make here. And we just want to reassure you all that nothing is changing. If you've watched our announcement video over on the YouTube channel, nothing's changing by the name and the logo. The reality is, and again, I'll let you answer a little bit here, Richie, but the reality is having Stadia in your name, when it is obviously a legal copyright and a brand from a massive, massive company, Google, Alphabet, which however far up the ladder you go, it's not great for a channel growth aspect. So we're not changing any content. We're just going to slightly rebrand a little bit. And we love the name Helix Cloud Games. I think the logo is terrific. I said in the announcement video, we went through some many revisions. It represents us. Gaming is in our DNA. Richie, you coined that phrase when we were working in the background.
Yeah, I think that's what we sold as actually on Helix being the one we went for, because this is something, as I said in the announcement video, this isn't something that we just decided overnight. We actually, I think when we were first setting up Sounds of Stadia, we did actually talk that this might be a change we eventually need to or want to make. And again, we're just past episode 100, so I felt like this was we're getting to the point, right? This is a nice time to make that change. And yeah, when we had lots of revisions, we've been talking about it quite actively for the last month or two, behind the scenes about, okay, what's the channel we're going to be called, how we're going to roll it out, all that sort of stuff. So, and then we stayed up to 3 a.m. last night, so if we're a bit tired, making all the changes. Yeah,
talk about commitment to content creation. We wanted to, of course, make it as seamless as possible, as smooth of a transition, so we stayed up late to get it all done in the darkest hours when all the everyone sleep in bed. But we've done it. We're absolutely thrilled with it. But as again, just to reiterate for those who are listening, thinking, oh no, they're going to start branching out and doing Xbox and PlayStation and Lunar and stuff. We're not. It's still a Stadia channel. We've always been honest with you guys out there. It's Stadia through and through. And the reality is we don't have time to cover anything else. We're passionate about the platform. We believe in its future. We're all founders. We're all still here. We'll be here, quite frankly, to the very end. So if you're worried about change, don't be. It's just a nice new shiny logo with a DNA strand and a cloud game in the middle. It's still me, Chris. It's still Richie. It's still Tom. And we're still going to be here every week. Same bat time, same bat channel, rounding up all the Stadia and gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure. And we would love you to get on board with this. So if you like the logo, do retweet. Let us know in the comments if you like the branding. But more importantly, Richie, I've not even thought about that. The people watching on the YouTube channel and listening, they've just seen our brand new introduction for the very first time as well, potentially.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the announcement video, so it's potentially the second time, but this is the first time you've seen it in the actual context of a show.
Yeah.
Rather than just going, oh yeah, we've got this cool intro.
Yeah, we've had this for only a matter of days at this point, but yeah, we've used the amazing support you guys give us, our members over on the channel, our people who support us that little bit further. Of course, they do get perks, badges, stickers, early access to SideQuest, but your support, we've always said we want to reinvest, so I personally am getting a new webcam next week. We've invested a lot of our own money as well, but we wanted to give back something and make the channel look a bit more professional. We did that by basically hiring someone to make us some pixel video art. So the introduction you see is myself, Richie, Tom, running along, jumping into a Stadia controller, exploding into the cloud, all of the games and points we talk about falling, sprinkling out of it. And then there's us sat around our podcast table, which is the goal, to have an actual live studio one day, hopefully. One day.
Hopefully this rebrand will help us take the next step towards getting that.
Elevated. But hopefully you like it. We've done a little tweak with the intro music as well to make it sound a little bit more old school gamey. And we just hope you like it. We're thrilled. We're looking forward to seeing what the future holds as always, and we hope you will be along for the ride. But do let us know in the comments below, as we love to hear your input as per usual. So that was that, Richie. That's all the quick changes we've been doing. So let's start the next 100 episodes with a bit of a bang. We celebrated last week, you and me. We got drunk.
We did.
We had some pizza. We had lots of beers, and we played with our lovely Stadia community. Lots of games. We played Hitman. We checked out Young Souls, which was recommended by the chat. We got our asses handed to us by our old team captain Meg on stream. Meg and Jem put us to shame.
I was so bad. I'm putting it down the fact that I was playing on controller. I'm playing on your tablet, so I had a tiny screen in front of me instead of my 4K monitor.
That is very true. We also could have been very drunk at the time. But we should also stress the way in which we just essentially turned an online multiplayer game into couch co-op just by your quick thinking of, there's a tablet in front of me, we have another controller. Well, rather than sit this one out, let's just sync it up and let's go. And it just showed you how kind of open Stadia is for playing literally anywhere with the tech that you already have. So it didn't really help us from a competitive edge.
No.
But we had a great time, so shout out.
We've got to play, so that's amazing.
100%. And shout out to everyone who stopped by. Shout out to all our members who jumped in and dropped us some super chats to celebrate 100 episodes. We did it. And like we said, here's to the next 100. Very excited going forward. Richie, you went back to Hitman this Thursday because you wanted to practice.
We've played Hitman. I've played Hitman twice on stream now. Both of them were celebration episodes, actually. The first one was our 1 year anniversary, and the second one was our 100th episode anniversary. And I'm terrible at it. So I jumped into Hitman last Thursday with the intent of trying to be good. So I was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on playing this properly. And I did for the most part. And what I did discover, Chris, that helped me out a lot is you can just save in the middle of the game and then reload. So when the impulse to be a bit silly emerged, because it does.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I would just drop a save, try it out, and if it didn't work, I could load it again. So it was quite good for me to actually learn the game a bit better. So I could try things out halfway through a cycle rather than have to start all the way from fresh again. Yeah,
that makes sense. Gives you a bit more of an opportunity to kind of find your footing in the world. I saw you did the tutorial as well, so you went right to the very first level.
That was the plan. I'm just going to start right from the beginning.
Terrific games, Hitman. I love the world of assassination is brilliant, and it's a great one for streams as well because it kind of you have to talk and theorize about what your tactics are. But yeah, fantastic games. Looking forward to seeing what IO Interactive bring, of course, with the new Bond game, so hopefully we'll see that. And we're going to talk about many, many more games. But before we get into the news, big shout out to, again, all of our members. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, you can do by clicking join below on the YouTube video. Join Club Helix and be one of our special ones from as little as 99p. You do get stickers, badges, special access in the chat, and more importantly, you get our SideQuest episodes, which again haven't changed. Still SideQuest. We're still going to go off the beaten path and talk about a Stadia subject in a bit more depth. What are we talking about this week, Richie?
This week we're talking about, should Google invest more money into Google Stadia?
And that's off the back of the article this week. They're about to give Apple $15 billion.
Yeah, just a cool $15 billion for a search engine.
Yeah, just as you do. So we'll be branching to that. And again, our members get that up to 6 days early on the Sunday when we record it. So do check that one out if you feel so inclined, and support us a little bit more so we can reinvest and do maybe even more things in the future collaborations and extra fun stuff. Tom, of course, is still on paternity leave.
You got it right this time.
I got it right this time. And while he is away, we do like to pester him and give him something to think about. Remind him that we still exist. We are still here waiting, keeping his seat warm for him. And the hashtag Richie this week seems very fitting.
Yeah.
There
was only one thing it could be this week.
So this week, tweet at Adaxis LP with the hashtag Helix Cloud Games. Because we're kind of going to go for a little promotion push at the moment with the new branding.
Yep.
So everyone out there who might not stay as clued in with our content as usual, just so when they do think, oh, let's check out Sounds of Stadia, hang on a minute, where have they gone? We're all still here. It's just a different colour palette and logo. So yes, hashtag Helix Cloud Games, at Tom, pester him a little bit, check how he's doing, show him some love, that kind of thing. But Richie, we've got a great show, a busy week. Gamescom, all the news aside, we've got plenty of juicy stuff to talk about, all Stadia related. So, in Tom's absence, will you give me the rundown for the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the
news? Lots of news this week. Starting off, we are just about to approach September. Some would say the end of summer. Looking at you, 2K. Hangar 13, Mafia people, and also Ark Survival Evolved people, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. The community blog post dropped a little bit early this week. I actually thought we would get it like very close to the start of September, but they gave us a few days notice. So you are getting 3 pro games for the beginning of September the 1st this week. First up, we have Little Big Workshop, which we were so glad, Richie, this one was announced. So Little Big Workshop. Tom's a big fan of this title. Imagine a magical factory appearing right in your living room. A carefully planned masterpiece where diligent workers throw together anything customers want. Rubber ducks, dresses, drones, and electric guitars, scooters, and all other wonderful goods. They can be created by many different materials and sold for hard cash. Cash you invest right back into the factory to get more machines, more workers, and grow your business. Little Big Workshop is essentially The Sims meets kind of a business tycoon game where you have a factory and you make stuff, and it's all on like a tiny little cute small scale. And Tom loves this game. I've had such a keen eye on this game for some time, but as we said yesterday night, we appeared on the Cloud Gaming Extreme podcast where they break down all cloud gaming. Shout out to Ace, Duncan and the team, Hell Monkey, who allowed us to join us and talk games for 2 hours last night. This is a title, Richie, we've been having our eye on for quite some time because it was sat at the £17.99 price point, which is prime pro territory.
Yeah, this is it. We've talked many times on this show about indie games coming to the Stadia, how we're at the point where, because almost every single indie game that's come to Stadia's ends up as a pro title at some point. Mm-hmm. Sometimes even just a month after its launch.
Days.
Days after its launch. So I was like, with Little Big Workshop, I was like, I think me and you both like, yeah, we'll probably it's one of them games I probably have great fun with one evening or maybe 2 evenings or something, and then I'll move on to something else. So it's like that £70 price tag was a bit more than I wanted to pay, but I was like, oh, this is destined to come to Stadia Pro. It's a small indie game. It's in the right price bracket. Tom's bought it.
It ticks all the boxes. It ticks all the boxes that bring it over. So, yes, I'll be jumping into this one. I'm very excited for it. Again, it's kind of a game that better works as a mouse and keyboard game. And there's a few announcements from Gamescom, which I think, again, will do so well on Stadia, which we will get to. But, yeah, Little Big Workshop, we've both saved £18 by just being patient. Stadia Pro has paid itself off again. So, again, for this month's subscription, in my opinion, I've already got my money back. Because, again, this was a game I was interested in. But like you said, I wouldn't look at paying that much for it. But on a subscription model, I'm happy to try it.
It's not a game I needed to play immediately, so I was happy to wait.
Yeah, it's not. There's no like spoilers to a story that you're going to miss out on by playing it 2 months detached. Again, from THQ Nordic, handy game, so that relationship is there, ticking over nicely. Which, coming to the Gamescom news, hopefully it'll pay dividends. Second title up is another great one. We've had a lot of fun with Richie. It is Wave Break. So again, it's bears on jet skis meets Tony Hawk's. Of course, skateboarding classics with guns, of course, added in. Grind, grab, kickflip, and shoot your way through an explosive 80s crime-filled Miami Vice world with weasels and bears. And I don't really know how much better to describe Wave Break other than mayhem.
It's been a while since I played because we played it on launch, and I'm pretty sure it had an awesome soundtrack as well.
It did, and it had a content creator soundtrack that wasn't copyright strike strict to death as well. But Wave Break, it's had a lot of changes. It's coming out on other platforms now. They've added a lot of different modes. But I have already said before, I'm not great at the skateboarding games. The combination mashing and remembering what to press for certain moves does not fit well with my memory. That's why I'm no good at fighting games. However, aesthetically, game was great. I had a load of fun with it. You, me, and Tom shooting at each other, throwing each other off their combos by killing them mid-air and hunting each other down was probably more fun, in my opinion, than the actual skateboarding element of the title. However, I'm thrilled to see it come to Pro. More people will play it, and it's a great little addition.
It might be time for us to have another look back into it because it's been quite a while.
It might be.
We played it on the day it came out. That's when we played it. So it's been.
We did.
Which has been, I think it's over a year at this point.
I remember it was really, really warm because we all wore sunglasses and we made it. We
dressed up for it.
We dressed up. But yeah, I think if you've not played this game before, definitely check it out. It's very, very different from what you would traditionally play, and loads of fun to be had. So shout out to the guys over at Wave Break. Looking forward to seeing more people getting their hands on your game, especially as we're still in summer. Enjoy it while it can. And 80s music is always the best. So let me know if you disagree in the chat. I'm sure many of our audience come from that generation and they'll all agree. Final game we've got this month is coming from THQ once again. We've got Darksiders 2, a definitive edition. Now, I love a pun, but I hate that name. Definitive edition. It doesn't roll.
It works as a pun, but it doesn't roll off your tongue very nice. No. Definitive.
Yeah, exactly. Become the terrifying force with which everything fears, but nothing can escape. Awaken by the end of days, Death, the most feared of the legendary four horsemen, embarks on a quest to redeem his brother's name. Along the way, the horseman discovers that an ancient grudge may threaten all of creation. Death lives. Of course, Darksiders Genesis has been on the platform for quite some time now. It's never had a price cut. No, I think it has once or twice, but it's one of those titles that just kind of sit at the top price mark, and not many people really speak about it. But this is brand new to the platform, so it's a great opportunity for people to jump into the Darksiders world.
We should point out as well that Darksiders Genesis is a very much a different style of game to this one. It's set in the same world. But this is more actually. I remember when I played this originally when it first came out on PC, and it reminded me of like a Zelda clone, like that style of open world where the world's kind of segmented. You get a horse to traverse, but there's a few more RPG elements and stuff involved. So it was a fun game.
Yeah, it looks really good. It does. It's got definitely those Zelda vibes, big boss fights. There's some clips I've seen there remind me of Shadow of the Colossus a little bit, with the giant bosses that you're fighting and you're trying to fly around. Obviously, you don't climb on them. But yeah, it looks like an action RPG. Horseman of the Apocalypse is always a cool storyline to add to it. And I believe they're working on another entry in the series as well, so it's something that they'll probably add to anything coming out in the near future. All in all, though, 3 pro games. 3 that I'm actually, for the first time, probably very keen to check all of them out. I'm definitely keen on going back to Wave Break. Darksiders I'm going to have a look at, and I'm really excited for Little Big Workshop. So check those out if you've not done so already. However, yesterday, Duncan, our good friend, One2 Escape over on Twitter and Cloudy with a Chance of Games, did point out that September is now short of a pro title because we were told that we would be getting the Life is Strange remastered coming in September. However, we covered on the podcast 2 weeks ago that title has now been delayed and pushed back until 2022.
I don't think we clicked at the time that it'd affect the pro status.
It
may not affect the pro status. It just when affect September's pro games. Because this is news. It's been delayed. It's like fine.
Yeah. So I guess the news now is in January, February, or March, roughly. you will be having an additional pro game come that month, which probably hasn't even been negotiated yet with the Stadia teams and the developers. However, it does leave, for some people, September feeling a bit short-handed. I don't think we really are. I think three of these titles, they're all a mixed bag and with equal levels of value.
If you look at the value of these games, it's more than the value of how much you're paying for your subscription. Literally every single game does that.
Every month nearly, yeah. Well,
but the value of something like Stadia Pro is like, are you interested in these games? And I think when people look at the pro lineup and don't see a massive AAA title, that's when they get a bit disappointed.
Yeah. But that happens across the board. It happens with Games with Gold. It happens with PlayStation Plus. You just have to look at the comments on social media to see half are happy, half aren't happy. And another random bunch say that they've already played those games before. But it's like, well, yeah, that's... If you're buying popular games and then they come later on, like Control Ultimate Edition came to PlayStation Plus. I didn't begrudge them for it. I had a little chuckle to myself about it, but it's a great game, so more people get to play it. So, yeah.
I'm happy because Little Big Workshop is a game I have my eye on. Darksiders 2 I've played before, not the definitive edition, just the standard edition, but I wouldn't mind jumping back into that. Check it out, and I've want what's best for Wavebreak because it's a cool game. Needs a bit more audience.
I would have liked to play Life is Strange Remastered. It's kind of like about the right time for it, but I don't think that should affect its pro status. I'm sure we'll still get it next year when it does release. But then this brings us back to what I mentioned right at the top of the show, Richie. September. These are our September pro games, and a lot of people out there, September ends alongside summer. In the UK, the children go back to school. It's the end of the summer holidays. And quite frankly, in my mind, September is pretty much heading into autumn, very much so. The trees start to turn brown, the weather starts to get a bit cooler.
The official transition days between seasons are usually mid-month.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it is the 22nd for some reason. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then that brings me back to another pro title we have mentioned a few times, but without keep banging the same drum. Ark Survival Evolved. Will we see it as a late pro game added mid-month summer to this list to compensate for Life is Strange, or more importantly, to give us the title we were promised earlier in the year?
With Ark, I don't really care when we get it. I just like them to address the situation. We're running out of summer now. We've got our September pro games, so these are the last games that you could consider to be summer pro games. Mm-hmm. Why isn't Ark on this list if it's coming?
Well, that's it. If it's pushed back to October, that's not summer at all. October, I'm thinking Halloween, cold, dark nights, Christmas shopping begins.
Surely at this point they have a firm release date for Ark in mind. If it is going to come out in summer, and let's say it comes out the 22nd of September, then I'd imagine Google must know about that. So just stick it in the announcement. Ark, there four games, Little Big Workshop, Wavebreak, Darksiders Definitive Edition, all coming on the 1st, and Ark will be out later in the month.
I could see that happening. And again, I think they probably realised not having Life is Strange, it's more important to get that added to the list as such. So fingers crossed, time will tell. With us talking about Ark Survival Evolved and its long journey to releasing on the platform, I might as well go into it while we're here, Richie. Mafia. I feel like I haven't actually mentioned it in quite some time.
You mentioned it in this show already.
Not to the rant degree that I usually do, though. Again, Ark, I'm over it. I've moved on. Mafia, I'm over it. I moved on. I promised our viewers I would do a first look of Mafia. Just if it comes to pro, get that caveat in there. I'm not buying the game anymore. I'm past it. I'm past caring. But just for consistency's sake, Richie, we're all about that here at the channel. Remember, we've just done 100 episodes, 101 now, consistent every single Monday here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. Mafia Definitive Edition Trilogy. September 25th, 2020. Last summer, some would say, if you're part of the Ark Stadia team. We are now 338 days from release on other platforms, and Hangar 13 and 2K and the Stadia team are yet to give us any sort of update as to where in the hell this title is. Is it going to be a stealth pro game? Is it going to be pro game for October? Does it even exist anymore, Richie? We'll never know. We'll never know.
Again, if they just come out, if it is a stealth pro game, I don't think that actually addresses the narrative, to be honest. If okay, we'll probably look at it because it's free to do so, but you could have told us before, and then we wouldn't people would be sat around for an entire year going, "Where is this game?" If I was really really passionate about playing that game, I would have already played it by now.
Yeah. So who's your
And then
audience?
Google would have lost my sale. I mean, I had a passing interest in the game. If it came out on Stadia, I might like a year ago, I might have actually bought it.
Yeah, same. Well, I intended to play it because similar to the Mass Effect games, I've never played a Mafia game, bar a demo, I think, years and years ago on PS3. 3.
But it's just I want to stress that sometimes that silence has ramifications. Like, this game's delayed. Oh, we don't know even if I'm saying delayed. It might not even be delayed. This could have been the plan all along.
Yep, they just maybe should have not revealed it until... Maybe, you know what would have been great? If they didn't reveal it last year, and then it was at E3 or Gamescom this year.
Yeah, that would be
coming
awesome.
out before the end of the year.
Yeah, and the Stadia Connect segment where, the Mafia trilogy is coming to Google Stadia and it will be out as a September Pro game. It's like, people are like, I've been interested in that game, I'm going to give Stadia a try.
Yeah, of course. But we'll see. They must have plans for it somewhere down the line, so we'll see. Speaking of things down the line, we got some interesting news this week. So going into story number 2, moving away from your pro games. Star Wars, Richie, The Mandalorian. Out of absolutely nowhere, totally left field, there was leaked footage of a Mandalorian game running. Of course, there's been a lot of rumours, even just the beginning of this year, about a Mandalorian game in development. Initially, I think it was rumoured as it was an Xbox first-party title, one of the EA, where the EA rules had changed in Star Wars. Disney were now licensing out the title to other companies and developers. We know we're getting a game from Ubisoft, and the rumour was that there's a Mandalorian game coming. And footage has leaked this week, where essentially you see a third-person Mandalorian game running. You're very much playing as him. The title screen has little baby Yoda, also known as Grogu, on there. But interesting enough, right at the very end of the video, it's a Stadia overlay. So he pauses the game and it pulls back to a Stadia overlay, which of course got everyone in the community really excited about this. The video, we should point out as well, is from YouTube channel Christopher Turner, who does look like he's a game developer. He does a lot of stuff with Unreal Engine. His channel in itself has got a lot of videos about tutorials in Unreal Engine 4, showing how you make assets and stuff. So the footage essentially shows what looks like to be his children, potentially, watching the game, just recorded straight from a television. So the game is running on a TV with the Stadia overlay, it would appear. It doesn't seem to be fully finished, but I don't even know who would be developing this game and why it would be on Stadia. EA, no doubt, working on Jedi Fallen Order 2. This isn't Xbox if it's running on Stadia. And Richie, you've watched the footage. I just want to kind of get your first thoughts before we delve into kind of if we think this is real, is it fake, is it what?
My first thought is I hope this is a game. Mm-hmm. I hope this is real, and I hope it is coming to Stadia because it looks like it could be an awesome game. Like a third person game where you play as the Mandalorian, playing through what looks like there's clearly chapters in there, so it's going to be story based. Like, yeah, give me that game every day of the week. But I'm trying to think of who could be the developer. As like my initial thoughts would be EA because it reminds me graphically a bit of like Battlefront.
Yeah, I can see that. Of course,
but it's entirely possible because if it is running on Unreal, that could be literally anyone then.
Yeah, like yeah. Unreal runs, obviously Unreal 5. There's people with Unreal 5 development kits at the moment in time, but yeah, third person. I mean, we haven't had a Star Wars kind of bounty hunter game since Star Wars Bounty Hunter, so it's when you say about aesthetics again, it's all Star Wars assets. So I'm sure modders out there, people in the industry, you must be able to get your hands on these type of assets for like Death Star walls and lights and lightsabers so easily nowadays.
There's a lot of very talented amateurs who could probably recreate them as well.
Oh, 100%. So the game looks fun. You're running around third person. You've got I love the way on the menu all his weapons show up as kind of like a hologram as opposed to it being like an overlay or a pause screen. You acquire Beskar, which looks like the currency, which fits perfectly with the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And
then the Stadia overlay, and he's clearly walking around some kind of Imperial destroyer or cruise ship or something. Looks all very, very Star Wars. Good bit of ray tracing, lights reflecting off everything. The armor looks terrific. But do we think it's real, Richie? Like, can we? Is it early access? It's not early access. Is it early development stage? There's a few things that I kind of just like pick at, which make me think it's. I've seen so much good stuff made in Dreams on PS4 now, PS4 and PS5 now, that I'm like, if someone has the time and dedication and knows the tools, it wouldn't be that hard to mock up this kind of thing. I want it to be real.
I want to say it's real. And one of the reasons I'm leaning towards it is we're talking about before the shows. Bungie in the past have actually come out and say how they see they like Stadia as like a useful development tool, especially at the start of the pandemic.
Yep.
Because when all the developers all over the world working from home, if you can put your builds of a game into the cloud, that means your entire team can access it and play test it. Mm-hmm. And my hope is that whoever's developing this, that's what they're doing potentially. This could be by Bungie actually.
I mean, they did say they want to expand. Yeah,
and that they're definitely someone who would be interested. Who, like, the Star Wars team will probably work with.
I mean, they've got a pedigree.
That aside, but it's like, yeah, I'm just wondering: is this like, is he working on the? Is this guy working on it, and he's got his kids playing it while he's filming it, but then it's almost like, I think the video might actually be unlisted in this channel now, which then means if you don't have the link, you'll not be able to find it. So I wonder if it's almost like an accidental upload, and he's maybe getting his kids to play testers like to get their feedback, because it seems like a smart idea, to be honest, if you're play testing the game.
It's one of those things where, because it's uploaded to the internet, surely NDAs, and if he is developing the game as an employee, rule 101 is do not show leaked footage of the game. So that makes me think it could just be a fan project that he's a big Star Wars fan, and he knows the tools. Like, if I knew what I was doing, my brain would be like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to take one of my most beloved franchises from my childhood and make a game for my kids to play that nobody else can play.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, like, because it's just clearly filmed with someone on a phone camera, it's really oddly amateurish. It's like, it makes me wonder, is like, what was the purpose behind filming this?
Yeah, there's no overlay of audio saying like, oh, at this point you can see where we used Unreal to showcase the ray tracing, or there's nothing like that.
If it's not like I could see like a developer working on something like this, a small excerpt of a potential game, almost as like a resume sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And hey, here's something I just built. This is what I can do. I built this all on my own, and using something like a Star Wars IP where this is probably never going to turn into a game, but it's like, this is like what I'm capable of. But then I'm pretty sure if you have the skills to build something like that, you'd have the skills to capture something like that rather than just filming it on your phone. Yeah. So it's weird. It's almost the amateurishness of the capture is one of the reasons makes me think that it's real, and that like, it's someone's filmed it who was not meant to, and it's been uploaded to some.
Well, yeah, if it was straight up capture, you'd be able to trace where it was at. But again, the guy's name's on his channel, and he doesn't seem to be shying away from it being a thing. Yeah. There's a few things that I think when you break it down, for me, and I've seen people comment on Twitter threads about saying a lot of the stock movements from the main character, it's basically a walking and running package you can just lift straight from Unreal. So it's not. Whereas if you're going to make a AAA game based on Star Wars IP, they probably make their own running mechanics and motions. Same with the weapons and the overlay for the camera. It's very kind of generic. The way it moves around is a little bit clunky. Again, still early development, so...
Yeah, if it's early development, maybe they're just using stock animations as a placeholder while they develop the rest of the assets.
Yeah, totally agree. The one thing that makes me think it's not real... Again, I want it to be 100% real. Like, Star Wars is one of my most favourite things of all time. Is the opening menu screen. There's something about, like, just from a standpoint... The title and the font, if this was like a loading menu screen, it's too much. There's too much going on. Grogu looks far too long. He's been stretched out. So like the model, I'm thinking the model doesn't look quite right. The menu and the way it cuts into the chapters, like the Disney Plus show does, and the music is one for one identical, and I'm thinking if they're going to make a game, they're not just going to lift the same audio files and the same chapters from the TV series, because that's just not... We don't get tie-in TV game movies anymore, and I'm thinking if you're going to make a Mandalorian game, it wouldn't be just retelling the TV show, it would be something totally new in line with The Mandalorian. And I think there's little things like this which make me think it's almost too tied in to be a genuine product, or a genuine like attempt at it. Because obviously if we were to make something, you and me, you'd try and use all the assets that are readily available, like the theme tune to make it sound genuine, the character models to make it sound genuine. But if you're going to make a brand new game, I feel like you've got to throw around new ideas and go, we can't just retell the TV show again.
It'd be great to get like a game developer's like perspective on this, because I'd imagine that a lot of times they might just use stock assets initially to get things up and running, because you'll have different teams working on different elements of the game. So like you mentioned the animation, someone's got to build like the character models and stuff, and then we'll need to test that out in the world. So if you can just use stock Unreal 4 character animations to test out, while someone else is working in a different team on the actual like finalized stuff. Yeah, I can see a lot of stuff like that, and it might be why the image might just be a mock-up that someone's pulled together for the title menu straight away, slapped a very basic opening menu over it just to get going. Where I'd imagine stuff like UI elements like that might be some of the last things that are actually polished off in the game.
Yeah. The UI does look really good, mind, with the weapons and the Beskar and stuff.
In the in-game, I was talking about mainly like the start menu.
Yeah, the start menu's a bit rough.
It looks almost like an old-fashioned start menu.
Yeah, like old school ones.
That's why I wonder, like, it's possible that this is literally we need a start menu in there to get going. Make something basic, and we'll sort it out later. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about whether it's real or not. I really do hope it is, because it looks like it could be an awesome game.
I'm going to say no right now.
Yeah,
like don't.
I'm
going
to go yes up. Then.
Okay, so we've got our 50-50 split.
I'm going to go yes, but don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. I'm just noticing now, about 34 seconds in, as well as when the screen goes between chapters and it's just a black screen, it looks like you can see the controller being used in the reflection, and it's got like very bright blue and yellow and red buttons, which makes you think it's possibly an Xbox controller.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm trying to like dig in and I can see while we're recording, I see Stadia Cast Alive talking about, is the Mandalorian footage real right now? So it's definitely going to be a hot topic, and no surprise, it's one of the biggest IPs on the planet, and it's on Stadia apparently by the overlay at the very end.
And the Xbox controller doesn't really mean anything for whether it's on Stadia or not.
Definitely not. But then there it is right at the end. I've seen some people also mock up saying that you can also get. You can edit like the Mandalorian game title in very, very easily to the actual like overlay. Like it's not hard to take a font to match the colour and just quickly edit on something at the end. Yeah. But it's another one we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. But more Star Wars games, fingers crossed. We're obviously going to get a Jedi Fallen Order 2 in the near future. We've got the new game from Ubisoft. We've got Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga we're going to talk about in just a moment. But exciting. Can't wait, but
if it's not real, it should be.
Yeah. And just remember, folks, many Bothans died to bring us this footage, so go check out Christopher Turner's video if you want to see it in a bit more timely fashion with yourself. You want to pause it.
If it is real, you might get in trouble if you do. Because the more views it's going to get, the more his boss is going to be pissed.
He's put it out there, and the video's racking up more views. But yeah, go check out his channel. Give him some love if he's making this epic game. Next story, third story of the week. We're going to switch it up a little bit to Gamescom, because, of course, the summer of gaming has continued with what would have been Europe's biggest event, still happening virtual this time. And we've got some announcements that, unfortunately, not confirmed for Stadia. However, like here on the channel, we talk about Stadia and all things that kind of encompass it. And a lot of the titles we're going to talk about have ties and loose connections to Stadia. First up being the Saints Row reboot. We covered it last week. It was rumoured. It's now official. The team have came out with a Saints Row. The title is just called Saints Row. It's following on from a succession of crazy over-the-top adventures with aliens and superpowers. But it's also been a good several years since we had a new entry. They're stripping away, it looks like, the cartoon aesthetics. They're going a bit more grounded. And essentially looks like you're dealing with crime gangs in a brand new location. It is coming to PS4 as well as Xbox One, PS5, Series X, and PC. But we do know, again, these teams, Volition, THQ, Embracer, they have games currently out on Stadia. Hell, we only got the Saints Row Reboot not too long ago on the platform. Not Reboot, sorry, the remaster of 3, the Definitive Edition. Richie, you've checked out the Gamescom footage. We'll ignore the fact that it's not been confirmed for Stadia yet, because we know what they're like with stealth drops and putting the logo on the actual games that are coming. What do you think of this new look? Because it's been getting a bit of shit online for people saying that it's not Saints Row, it looks different. Do you care? Does it make you want to play it more now it's not a cartoony aesthetic? It's not superheroes and aliens?
The first thing I should say is I'm not a big Saints Row fan. I think I've played a bit of Saints Row 3 in the past, but them sort of open world crime sandboxy stuff like Grand Theft Auto, Saints Row, they've never fully really appealed to me that much. So I do actually think the aesthetic looks better, because there's so many games that now go for either we're going to match Breath of the Wild or we're going to match Fortnite's aesthetic to get the kids involved. It's kind of oversaturated, so I'm always going to praise anyone who goes with a different art style. But this game, it seems like a nice jumping on point for anyone who's like new to the franchise, to be honest, because it is a reboot. It's a completely clean slate, new characters, new location, the works.
Yeah.
They
have said
it has been a while.
Yeah, they have said
the last one was PS3.
Damn. Yeah, they have said there's going to be possibly some familiar characters showing up, but it's similar to you, as someone who's I appreciate what Saints Row is, but because it's been so long, because it's got a totally different approach, I'm actually more excited than I probably would have been before the trailer was shown off. Just because it's like with Grand Theft Auto 5 having like its third console now, and it's got another next gen iteration coming out later this year. Yeah. We haven't, and games have kind of moved away from everything being open, bar a couple of Ubisoft titles. I've seen a lot of people comparing this to Watch Dogs 2 because it's kind of like hipsters taking on the rival gangs and such in a city. But I enjoyed Watch Dogs 2. The story wasn't great, but in terms of the gameplay in the world, it was. And it made me think that I've not actually played like an open world game in a city for quite some time. We've had a lot of Assassin's Creed-esque games that take place in obviously like ancient times for the last several years, but yeah, I think aesthetically it looks really good. Yeah, first person. It's an interesting one. But I, for one, think the trailer looked great. It kind of, I think it's probably a smart idea not to give it another number.
Yeah, well, especially if you're doing it as a clean slate reboot. This is just going to be Saints Row, and then the next one might be Saints Row 2. So then they'll get into that whole confusing thing where they've got two Saints Row 2s, but
yeah. Hopefully they get away from the purple.
I think with how long it's been since the last new title in the series, I think it's probably a smart idea to reboot it, because they skipped the entire PS4, Xbox One console generation.
Yeah, well, they had the remasters, the definitive
remasters aside, but for new titles, they skipped.
Well, they did try.
Console generation,
did they try and do Agents of Mayhem? If you can remember that at all. No, it was their attempt at a battle royale within this kind of universe, if I recall, and it bombed massively, and that was like Volition, like they've pivoted back to probably what they know better.
Is that when everyone was making a battle royale?
It was, about 4 years ago.
PUBG came out, exploded. Fortnite came out, exploded. Suddenly, everyone has to have a battle royale.
Yeah, battle royale, looter shooter kind of thing. So either way, Saints Row again not confirmed for Stadia, but you've got to imagine these titles are having conversations like THQ, Nordic, Deep Silver, Embracer. It's got to be happening, because again, if we miss out on this, it's been announced for February, so it's not even that long away. And the next year is really starting to stack up now, and Gamescom showed us a lot of that.
February makes it more awkward for me. I think I would have been more interested in if it was coming out the back end of the year, this year, because that seemingly a bit light for games I want to play. Where I know for a fact there's a game in February that I'm definitely playing.
So that was one of the first big games. We also got a first look at the new game from Firaxis, which I'm pretty sure I've been calling Firaxis for so long. Until this week, I heard everybody calling it Firaxis, and I was like, okay, I'll go with Firaxis. They've announced and revealed Marvel's Midnight Suns, a tactical RPG that's less like XCOM than we probably first thought. It is from the same team who made XCOM. But yeah, so tactics game where essentially you get a brand new character. It's been brand new developed, which I think is really exciting, in tandem with Marvel. So this isn't someone you've recognised from the comic books. You're able to customise your character and make them your own superhero. But the trailer essentially shows off a roster of Marvel heroes that you usually wouldn't see teaming up. There's Doctor Strange in there with Wolverine, your new character coming in, Star-Lord, we've got Ghost Rider as well. And it's just basically, Blade's in there too. There's such an odd combination of characters that we're not used to seeing both on the big screen or in titles. And essentially, you are working together to basically fight off all the villains within the Marvel world.
I like the mismatch of characters like from the Marvel lore, like kind of almost sometimes separated. It's like I think it'll land itself well because how many times do you want to see Spider-Man interact with Iron Man? Give me something different, like Blade interacting with Wolverine. I think there's interesting stuff, interesting combinations.
Yeah,
but for me, this game really needs a gameplay trailer because there's already confusion about what the game is.
Yeah, there's that uncanny valley where they don't look like MCU, but I'm kind of over that playing Marvel's Avengers anyway. Like Iron Man kind of looks like him, but then he doesn't, and Wolverine it doesn't look like Hugh Jackman. Doctor Strange isn't Benedict Cumberbatch, but I'm fine with that. I know some people won't be, but yeah, tactical turn-based combat, and you're totally right. Yeah, I know what to expect from XCOM, but I'm again wanting to see what gameplay looks like so I can actually get it in my head how this is going to play. They have stressed it's not going to be as difficult as XCOM. Usually in XCOM you're kind of pitted against the world and you have to really fight to get some victories. This one seems to be a bit more casual, I'd say. I
can almost see this being like, you know how Mario plus Rabbids, whatever, Kingdom Battles was like...
That's my other go-to.
It was almost an entry into like that XCOM genre. Mm-hmm. I can feel this being like, not quite that level, maybe a couple like difficulty levels up from that, a bit more complexity, but not quite to like the punishing degree like something like XCOM is. Because I think like XCOM tend to have permadeath, which is quite difficult with a Marvel roster.
Well, so you want your characters to survive beyond one or two levels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued, but I need to get. I'm always intrigued with like a cinematic trailer, especially when it's an IP that I care about. But it's in the end of the day, it's a game. I don't want to see a cinematic. I want to see the game.
Yeah, exactly the same. I think the name's cool. Midnight Suns, really, really cool. Comes from a line of comics, which not spelt Suns, featuring Ghost Rider and such. Interestingly enough, Disney reached out to Firaxis to get this done because they were fans of XCOM before. So they had a conversation, but Marvel essentially came to the table saying, we love the XCOM games. We're big fans of your games. Can you work with us more? Which is interesting. Usually it works the other way around. The developers go pitch a title to the IP owners, and it's worked the other way, which means they're clearly passionate about it.
I love that way around of working. It's like, go on, we've got this IP. We want to look at a game in this genre. Who's the best in the industry for this genre? Let's approach them.
Yeah.
And see what they've got. It's like, imagine you just working there for Firaxis and you get the phone calls like, hi, it's thingy from Disney. It's like, do you want to make a Marvel game? It's like,
yeah.
Well, we want to make a Marvel game.
It's great, and Disney and Marvel have been doing this for the last few years now. Where I've heard the exact same things with like the likes of Insomniac when they were told, "Do you want to work on a Spider-Man game?" And it was like, "Oh my god, yes, 100%." And we've seen it with the Star Wars titles coming out, and again, as fans of all these franchises, I'm just so happy that we're getting like Marvel's Avengers. I'm a huge fan of that, as we know. The Spider-Man games are absolutely phenomenal. Miles Morales over on PlayStation. We're getting this coming out. There's the new Star Wars games coming out, which you said. And as someone who's we've both grew up with this stuff, Richie.
Yeah.
It's our childhood come to life. Like even just like the Lego game we're about to get onto. It's like, yes, give me all this. I'll play these games all day long. And the fact that this one's different from the rest has me very, very intrigued because I've never really played an XCOM game bar like half an hour to an hour. But because it's got that IP attached to it, now I'm suddenly like, oh, you have my interest, sir. You have my interest.
It's one of them things where I've always been intrigued to try XCOM, but I've never jumped in, where the Marvel IP is one of them things that might give me the push I need.
Yeah.
That being said, I've said it before, and usually around Marvel's Avengers, and I'll say it again. It has to be a good game first.
Yeah.
You can't just slap the IP on it and expect it to be a good game.
Totally agree. But
I fully believe that this could be a good XCOM style game.
Yeah, great. But
they've got the right people involved.
Certainly do. And the reason we talk about it again is because it's in partnership with 2K. And there's another story we're going to talk about in the show where 2K and Stadia have a fantastic relationship. They've got games already out. We've got Marvel games already on the platform, and it's coming out in March. And more importantly, it's coming to Nintendo Switch and PC. So if they can get it to run on Switch, they can get it to run on Stadia. PC, Steam, again, but this is where it's coming in March. It's a busy March next year. Horizon Zero Dawn got a date for end of February. We've got this. We've got all the other titles. So yeah, we need to start seeing some stuff. But that's one of them. We'll rush through some of the last ones that were announced as well. Just the kind of loosely related in. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge, was revealed to be featuring April O'Neil as a playable character. The reason I bring this one up for Stadia, Richie, is because the publishers just put out Streets of Rage 4 on the platform. And it's pretty much a it's not a like for like, but you know what I mean. It's a brawler, side-scrolling action game with
brawler, beat 'em up
with the Ninja Turtles attached to it, Turtle Power and all that. Again, we're talking. We covered it on yesterday's podcast. We were guests on, but we need to start hearing about what we're playing in 2022. And now Gamescom's out the way, and we've got loads of dates for new titles. We need to start hearing that conversation from Stadia to say, no, these are coming. Like, you can play these games. Back to Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, we don't know if it's coming, even though it's Square Enix who are putting it out.
Well, let's say, because I think the Ninja Turtles had some beat 'em up games back in the Sega era and stuff. Let's say you're a huge fan of them games, you're looking forward to this game, and you're going, okay, where should I buy it? It's not at the moment. As far as we know, it's not coming to Stadia, so you're probably just going to look at the other platforms. Mm-hmm. That's literally the reality of when you don't announce what games are coming. When games are announced that they're coming out, but if you don't get the announcement that they're coming to your platform, people will buy them on other platforms.
Yep. So that was one. So speaking of that, again, I think it could come. I'd love to see it come across. But we need to start hearing about all this because this is essentially Gamescom kind of wraps up the summer of games where we had nothing from E3, we had nothing from Summer Game Fest, we had nothing from Gamescom. Outside of the Ubisoft news, because Ubisoft we know put the logo on, that's it. And after an entire summer of the industry celebrating games and all these big announcements, radio silence just isn't a good look for the industry. And we've covered it on this podcast so many times that they just need to communicate dates more because a roadmap is critical for consumers. I want to know what I'm playing end of this year, start of next year. A couple of the titles, we'll just gloss over them, Richie, because we are, of course, always push for time here on the show. We don't want our viewers going too much in depth. For me, Jurassic World Evolution 2 got pre-orders coming out this November. I've stressed how many times I would love Frontier to bring this and Planet Coaster to the platform because that mouse and keyboard ecosystem, direct touch controls, Richie, just got launched with Humankind. You've been playing it. It's a park building simulator. That cross-hybrid nature that Stadia brings is just fantastic. And I keep tweeting at them about the old games. You know what, Frontier? Forget the old one. Bring me the brand new one. I'll take this. I'll take this if you really need to. But yeah, I just love it. I watched Jurassic Park the other day. So I just want to build dino parks.
Yeah, I've never played a Jurassic World Evo game, but if this comes to Stadia, I'll probably play it.
Oh, it's so good. It's such a good game, especially if you like Jurassic Park / World, I take it. Yeah. But that was one of them, Park Builder. The other one that we've mentioned briefly is the Lego Skywalker Saga. Finally got its date. And we've been talking about Warner Brothers games for a while that outside of Mortal Kombat, they've not done anything with Stadia for nearly 2 years now. And again, we know the Gotham titles and the Suicide Squad game have all been pushed back from Rocksteady and WB Montreal. But, I mean, at one point, are they in or are they out? Are Google having conversations with them or not? Because this is another big, again, a pillar of the gaming industry that if you don't have a Lego game on your platform, like, what are you doing? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how great Stadia is for casuals or lapse games. The Lego games are perfect for that.
Oh yes,
families,
kids.
They're so kid friendly. It's like, you can see a kid playing this on his tablet tablet on probably using touch controls because kids are weird like that.
Yeah, and I mean the Lego games aren't that like intense when it comes to motion anyway. Like you could play this with touch controls because you're fighting little Lego Sith and droids and stuff and stormtroopers. You're not playing Destiny 2 and need like really sharp like intense accuracy. You're just running around breaking bricks.
Yeah.
And this game is big in a long time coming, but yeah, I do think spring 2022 was announced for coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch once again. So I'm like, if these games can be on the Switch, let me play it on my phone with a Razer Kishi, please. I'd love to. Yeah. It's all 6 movies remastered and retold and remade into one solid game.
This is one of them games that I think falls very much in the category of you expect it to be on your platform if you want your platform to have widespread credibility.
Yep, I would totally agree
because
with that.
They're very well revered and they've got a huge audience.
Yeah.
So let's say it's coming up to Christmas. Kid wants a new console. He wants to play the new Lego game. Well, if it's not on stage yet, then you're out of that conversation immediately.
Certainly, yeah. Even if it's cheap or not, Mum and Dad will rather spend £200-300 on a new box because that's what the kid wants for Christmas.
And also, that's what people are familiar with. So this is the thing as well with cloud gaming. You are fighting an uphill battle to get into people's minds that this is the viable way. It's like, and get people to understand that they don't need the box underneath the telly.
Yeah, completely agree. So just like Yoda once said, WB, Stadia, do or do not, there is no try. Get on with it.
That was in the that rendition of it was in the Christmas special.
It was indeed. But that's pretty much it for Gamescom in terms of games. Again, we've got to picture these games are coming, but only time will tell with that one. What we do know is coming, however, is Far Cry 6. I'm very excited for this title from Ubisoft. They released a story trailer all through Gamescom with Giancarlo Esposito showing off essentially just the ruthless dictatorship that is his character. Richie, you were saying if you've not played anything, you're starting to warm up to the prospect of Far Cry 6?
Yeah, well, I played back in the day. I played quite a bit of Far Cry 3, but I never actually finished it. I bounced out after a while. Mm-hmm. I did do our first look on Far Cry 5, but then it was in the middle of when I had a handful of other games to play, so I just bounced out of it. So at the moment, I'm quite light on what games I'm looking forward to. So Far Cry 6 has a good chance of drawing me in.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really excited for Far Cry 6. I love a Far Cry game. I've got the platinum in pretty much everything from 3 onwards, even the spin-offs, Primeval, New Dawn and such. I can't wait to play Blood Dragon. I've said on the podcast previously, I'm looking forward to getting back into that because it's such a fun game with that 80s skin over it. I think you'd love Blood Dragon.
I think Blood Dragon. You've been recommending me Blood Dragon since you played Blood Dragon.
Yeah, I'd quite happily just watch you play through Blood Dragon because it's not too long either. Because it is just like it was essentially just DLC for Far Cry 3. But the more I'm seeing of Far Cry 6, I can't wait to just explore this big open world and just make again crazy open world action, very similar to Saints Row. Actually, I just clearly enjoy the Far Cry nature of it rather than the Saints Row take on it. But yeah, super fun. New story trailer out there. Go check that one out on the Ubisoft channel if you want to. It looks like they're introducing more kind of drug-related stuff, which makes you hallucinate, which is where the game can get crazy and wild. But not too long to wait. October, Richie, is not that far away. No. And next story of the week, what also doesn't look like it's too far away, is Stadia expanding finally. So we give them shit all the time about games that are coming and stuff, but one of the questions we keep seeing on the Twitter feeds and social media is, when is it coming to my country? And we've seen people reach out from all over the planet and say, when is it coming? Well, interestingly enough, there's a new job listing which was found by, again, Duncan, our friend over at Cloudy with Games, and it looks like there's job listings to work collaboratively with cross-cloud stakeholders, including Anthos, AIM, ML, Stadia engineering and product teams, global telco, telecommunications, solution teams, and partnerships in India. Which we've said before, I believe it's currently with the second biggest population on the planet. We see, I don't know about you, but I quite frequently see people from India is probably the highest, most requested country I see from people on Twitter. Which does this mean there's an expansion?
Brazil, the big ones I keep seeing a lot of.
Yeah, but does this mean expansion's imminent? You've got to imagine they've been working away for 2 years to bring it to new territories.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just concerns over like infrastructure in certain territories where that's kind of slowed them down, and this job listing seems to be in that sort of ballpark of like making like helping up, because this is not just a Stadia person, this is a Google person that'll be like working with a number of teams, all associated with Google's cloud services. So if they're going to try and improve like what they can offer through the cloud in India, Stadia just seems to be part of it. But a little take on this one is that's a good sign that Google are lumping Stadia in with the other cloud services. Yeah, this is a service that Google are offering, and are actively bringing people in to bring this service to other places. So I think this is all good.
Yeah, you need those relationships. Google
for all the people in India, this happens quickly.
Yeah, Google in general are quite well renowned in India, I think. Anyway, so the fact that they're reaching out to it was only a matter of time. And these markets they need to get to quick. I know we've seen some rumours. I think I can't remember who tweeted it. Sorry, I can't remember the person. But they showcased a game that was going to be showcased at Japan later this week. But Stadia's not available in Japan. But the game's not Risk of Rain. The one that used State Share, Richie. Give me it. Recently just came out in space, procedurally generated worlds. You can share your planet and people can... It's really difficult. It's got a very interesting bright colour palette. It's not Risk of Rain.
God. I don't know.
That game is exclusive to Stadia, timed exclusive. And it's being showcased in Japan later this week. However, Stadia isn't in Japan, so how are they showcasing the game? Which made people think, it might be expanding to Japan as well. So... It's kind of thinking, reading the tea leaves, are they coming to India? Are they coming to Japan? Which makes me think they're ready for another phase of expansion. Because it has been since Christmas last year.
Japan's notoriously difficult to crack, though. Microsoft haven't even fully made solid inroads into Japan.
Even PlayStation. Did you see this month that they didn't have a game in the top 20 NPD results? It was all Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah, not for the first time in 2 decades. There was not a PlayStation game in the top 20.
Yeah, usually Nintendo and PlayStation do quite well because they're both Japanese companies.
Well, they do love a handheld.
Yeah.
Which again, mobile gaming is huge in Japan as well, and Stadia is and can be that. So. It just makes me think we haven't had a rollout of new countries since before Christmas. So we are coming up at 3/4 of a year now. I think we're ready. Give me Australia. Let's get some Aussies in on this party. Give me India. Let's get some Indians in on this party. I'm excited to just see more people play and finally get their hands on it.
More people is more better for everyone.
Yeah.
When it comes to gaming,
especially when crossplay is not open on every title yet. Speaking of crossplay though, Richie. Perfect segue. Destiny 2 crossplay is now live on Stadia. Play with people across PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Of course, this was announced by Bungie. It was leak baited, I guess, a few weeks back. It was promised as part of the new Season 15 expansion. They teased a little bit at Gamescom about the Witch Queen expansion, which is coming in February. It's busy February next year, mate. If you're into your games, lots of stuff. But essentially, the tease delve into the Twisted Throne world to uncover the mysteries of how she and her Lucent Hive stole the light. It ties back into previous Destiny storylines and reviving the Witch Queen kind of thing. New campaign, new weapons, entirely new season. Destiny and Bungie are absolute experts at keeping this game ticking over. It's amazing to see. But I've seen loads of people actually play crossplay this year. Tom jumped back in. You jumped back in, Richie.
Yeah, I jumped back in for just a couple of hours because I just wanted to shoot something. And Destiny is... I've never been the biggest Destiny fan, but I can't deny that it feels good to play as a first-person shooter. So I only played for about an hour or two, then I bounced, but
it still worked. Yeah. And we should point out as well, as part of this, there was a physical collector's edition of Destiny that did come out, which it's sold out now. Sorry, folks, you're not going to get your hands on it. But yeah, the Destiny Collector's Edition with the kind of little starfish monster thing. Sorry if I don't know the name from the game. Was available with a Stadia package, and it sold out immediately. And this, Richie, is the first piece of physical merchandise we've seen from Stadia. We've been saying for literally months now. They should do some kind of partnership with a physical presence. And
we've been saying for basically 2 years.
And who knows, Destiny were the first ones to do it, albeit at, I think it was £250, and it's very much sold out now. But movement's happening. movements happening.
Well, that's the thing. These companies, they do produce these physical things, and I'd imagine it's the same. It'll be the same physical stuff, same supply for every single platform, and then they'll just put a different code in based on what version you're buying.
Right.
For a lot of times, or a different disc in. But nowadays, I think it tends to be more like a code, isn't it? With the collector's editions, you get a digital download code.
Quite often you don't even get the disc. I've had a few collector's editions with PlayStation, and you get like the steelbook, you get the art book, the music CD, the statuette, and then it is like you open up and it's just a piece of paper with a code on it, which is like, no.
It's weird to get a steelbook without the disc.
Yeah.
That one's weird. Like, if it didn't have a steelbook in, having it without the disc is fine, but...
I had, when I got the BioShock collection on steelbook, I had a problem with Game in the UK where I pre-ordered it, I went down to collect it. They didn't have the steelbooks in, so they had the game, so they gave me the game in like the plastic box, but no steelbook because it was a separate entity. So I went in, I collected the game, I started playing the game, and it took like 3 weeks for them to get it in stock, and I had to go back down. Essentially just gave me an empty steel tin that the plastic box then went into, and it was kind of like...
It feels like that's one they could have just shipped to you, like... Look,
I had to contact them on Twitter. It was a whole thing, but it's weird. And again, it's because the steelbooks are just shifted from platform to platform. It's just a generic vessel that you can put the actual game into. So it's great to see Stadia having one. I'm looking forward to seeing more in the future because I do believe they need a physical presence in stores. Now the high street's opening back up, lockdown's nearly over. Yeah, get them on shelves. Get premiere editions in there and like a fancy... We said when Cyberpunk came out, imagine going into your local GameStop or Walmart and there's a bright yellow Cyberpunk box sat on the shelf with a yellow Stadia controller and a code for the game to play with no console required. Do it. It sells itself.
I've said it before, but anywhere you can buy Google Tech, if you can buy a Chromecast somewhere, you should be able to pick up a Stadia controller there. Anywhere you can buy games, you should be able to pick up the controllers, the Premier Editions, the Chromecasts. Just be everywhere people would expect you to be. That's what we're asking.
Yeah, you need those great relationships with your suppliers in physical brick and mortar shops. But speaking of great relationships, let's move on to the next story of the week. WWE 2K 2022 has been delayed. That 2K and the WWE Vince McMahon, I guess, and his old team over there, they're not getting along very well. And it's no surprise because after the really, really shitty get my words mixed up, WWE 2K19, which was broken at launch and it did terrible, they then skipped a year. They then brought out WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which I played and refunded because it was not good. They've now had to push this back a little bit further, and I don't think Vince McMahon and his team over at WWE are that happy with how 2K are handling their precious franchise /IP /roster of superstars.
No, it seems to have all went wrong for 2K in like recent years when it comes to WWE, and I'm sure there's some very good behind the scenes knowledge, and it almost feels like they need to. Well, because the 2020 edition was scrapped or so far into development, it almost feels like they need more than that 1 year cycle to be able to produce a good game. I wonder if it's just the complexities of the game is getting more and more. It's just then difficult to produce something to the standard they want.
Yeah, well,
and if they're falling off the site, where you look at things like FIFA and things like FIFA get criticised for very few updates year on year, but a year's not a long time for game development.
No,
so it's like it's small iterations year on year. And imagine if FIFA completely moved up a new engine and it was absolute trash. It's probably going to be trash for a couple of iterations till they get back on top.
Yeah, completely right. There is obviously a lot going on with WWE. I think again, I'm a very lapsed wrestling fan as well, so forgive me if I get stuff wrong. But I know they're having loads of problems with loads of their roster leaving and going to the AEW, I believe, which is like a brand new whole division of wrestling that people are migrating over. So all the superstars are now going and signing for essentially a rival company. It's a thing that happens, but the reality is these are human beings who have contracts. I know Vince McMahon and WWE have been quite strict in the past. I know they're clamping down on wrestlers doing stuff on like Twitch and having other sub-businesses and sub-work, and they're trying to say that if you work for us, you 100% work for us, your image, your likeness, it's owned by us, but at the same time, it's not quite sports is the rest of it is like football, soccer, rugby.
A lot of these people are doing things on like Twitch as like just a hobby, not as a business, and then they're getting told, no, you can't have this hobby.
And yeah,
not a good look in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not. And then they come back and they go. So it's interesting that even when this game launches, if it launches with a delay, how many superstars may have left the WWE by the time the game comes? You know, sometimes FIFA struggles with the transfer window happens.
Yeah.
While the game's still out, so you have to change players around and move them. It's kind of a similar thing where there's a lot of people leaving. So, like in the past, Bray Wyatt, I think, was one of the biggest headliners. He left, and then it's kind of like, who do you put on your cover? AEW Wrestling, All Elite Wrestling, is the new one that they're all moving over to. I've got the name.
I'd imagine
now.
For the WWE, it's more complicated than FIFA as well, because FIFA have got like a rigid set of he's all the different stats and attributes for character, and they're just moving between clubs within the game.
Yeah.
Which you can literally just go into FIFA and customize and move characters around.
Yeah.
So the EA will just like do that, then send a patch down. With this, you're probably spending a lot more time coding each individual fighter, individual wrestler.
Yeah, because you have to scan them all still and put them in the game. Another interesting caveat of this with it being delayed is that the AEW Wrestling are making a game of their own.
Yeah.
And they've gone to Ukes, who were the people who used to develop the WWE 2K games. And arguably, they were the last developers to make a good wrestling game. So now the rival, who a lot of the crew of superstars are leaving to go fight for, they're now coming out with their own game made by the old developer. It's a full thing, Richie. It's a full thing.
It's a complicated story, and I think we're probably not the best people to sum it up, because you're a lapsed wrestling fan. I'm not a wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, to say the least. And this title now coming out in March next year, it's missing that window. We mentioned pre-show before we went live to recording, but like FIFA 22 comes out in 2021, so that you have almost the entirety of the 2022 year with that on the store shelves, on digital storefronts, showcasing that it's this current season. WWE 2K 2022 coming out in March next year doesn't give you the full year's run at it almost, and it just makes me think WWE are not happy. 2K clearly aren't happy. They've delayed the game. I can imagine the conversation back and forth of saying, don't delay it, we need to delay it, and you get that whole devs versus shareholders argument going on. And
I can see the arguments going like, no, you need to release this game on time. Then 2K turn around and going, but if we release this game on time, it's not going to be ready, and it's going to harm sales in the long run.
Yeah,
and you round and round it goes. So
indeed,
I think that there's more to come from the story, and I think we will get this almost a breaking point where either things suddenly snap back into line and start working for 2K and WWE, or they go the different ways.
Yeah,
and I kind of want to predict it might be the latter. To be honest, it might just get to the point where if the relationship keeps souring,
well, yeah,
and 2K looking at go, we're better off spending better off going elsewhere.
100%. I could see it being at EA. Quite frankly, we've seen EA buy up Codemasters to get all racing. We've seen EA literally have a monopoly on soccer, football. We've seen it with Madden. We've seen it with ice hockey. EA know what they're doing when it comes to sports, and I think this is just another quote-unquote sport, if you think that.
Yeah, if you're Vince McMahon and you're WWE and you're looking, and let's say assume you've moved on from 2K and you're looking for a new developer, EA feel like it's probably a safe pair of hands.
Yeah. Which
probably is one of the things that EA would probably pitch and go, look, we do this. This is basically our bread and butter is sports games for the most part.
Exactly.
A big part of their business. We do them every single year, and almost every single year they come out with how hitch. There's criticism and stuff over them, but you give us this franchise and you'll get a good return annually.
100%. So I'm picturing now, Richie, it's WWE. It's in the ring.
WWE.
It's in the ring. Ding, ding, ding. Moving on, though, we did mention 2K. We will get into 2K, and the reason being is an article dropped as part of a Google blog this week. And this is what makes me think a lot of these games will be coming, Richie, as a publisher, as a developer. There's a whole blog post that talks about Google Cloud in development with a partnership with 2K to bring cloud saves, cloud storage to the forefront and make it the best technology it can be. And they talk about open saves. They show the article's there to read, guys. If you go check it out, it's a whole breakdown. But it's simple. The pillars they're talking about are being simple, open save files, unified, well defined. They want to be fast, so they want an architecture that's going to cache save files and optimize them and keep them safe. And they want it to be scalable, so it can go up to massive games, because they open the whole article by saying, many of today's games are rich, immersive worlds that engage the audience in ways that make a gamer part of a continuing storyline. To create these persistent experiences, a number of storage technologies are required to ensure games' data can be scaled to the standards of gamers' demands. So they've essentially partnered with 2K to work together on this.
Yeah.
You can't tell me Google don't go, we've got Stadia over here, you publish tons and tons of games, we're working on this project, what's in it for us? That isn't just monetary millions and squillions of dollars. Like this.
And then a lot of these companies will probably rent, if you have persistent online worlds or games that have lots of multiplayer features, they will need servers to host stuff. Host stuff. And if there's things like cross-play and cross-save, you need servers to host that. So, yeah, you're going to Google. They specialize in data. It's a logical partnership to be had. And if Google playing their cards right, it's like, yeah, okay, we'll help you out. But Stadia.
Yeah, like this. Like,
it's just Google leverage who you are to help who you are.
Yeah.
Like.
And this kind of comes back around to some of the stories that have been circling about Google Stadia being white labeled, and we never really covered it on this podcast because
it's rumors. It was very
it's rumors, and it's also a bit of a non-starter. Where it's like, does it matter? Like if they've said they're selling the tech out to other people, so I don't think. Even
if they are white labeling Stadia, that doesn't mean Stadia's going away.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
It just means that they're willing to lease the technology out.
Yeah, I don't look at it from a point of, that means everything here is going to be shuttered and it's going to be taken over by another company. I look at it as if another company can just use the technology and rebrand it as themselves. It happens all the time. Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, all of that, like we were alluring to there, all of their servers, all of the tech that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All these businesses and companies use technically, I mean, everyone uses bloody Microsoft. Every business has used Microsoft for decades now. That doesn't mean Microsoft are any lesser of a company for leasing out their tech to businesses to run their shit.
No, it's just...
That's business. That's commerce. That's how it works. That's how trade
and capitalism... It's entirely possible. Let's say take StateShare. Let's say Google lease out to 2K, for example, the technology. That money could be part of a strategy to get investment back into Stadia. So yeah, we'll lease out this tech to you, but part of the deal is you have to bring any games that you use this tech on to our platform, and we'll take the funds that you've paid us and reinvest into Stadia. Because Google are a massive corporation with billions and billions and billions of pounds to throw around, evidently. But that doesn't mean they have endless money, and doesn't mean that they don't have investors and shareholders that they can just throw money at everything they want to without impunity.
Yep.
They will still want to, with Stadia is one of their services, they will still want to see return on investment. And they'll probably see it as, we need to invest in this. But you can't just keep dropping a bit. It's not like the Google search engine where you can just drop 15 billion on something straight away.
Well, that's for SideQuest, that story.
Yeah.
That's for SideQuest. But right, rounding out the show, we'll move on. A couple of good stories for the end of the week. Farming Simulator 2022 pre-orders are now available. They are up there on the Stadia storefront, so you can sign up, get your tractors charged, ready to go, and take on the role of a modern farmer. We know our good friend Adam, the one and only original Penguin over on Twitter, will most likely be streaming this every day of its existence. He loves a good farming simulator, and so do we. Farming Simulator 2020? It was just 20, right?
Yeah.
19? 19, yeah, I think it was 19. Was the first title we actually streamed along with Samurai Showdown and Tomb Raider on the platform.
Farming Sim is part of Helix Cloud Gaming law.
It is indeed. It was one of the first ones. We had a great time on the farm, so I'm very excited to see how this one does. Thrilled to see it's finally coming. So yeah, get your crops sown, wait for the best weather, and get out there. Get your pre-orders in now. We should also point out Embr is leaving early access. We had a first look up on the channel about Embr 2. It's going to other platforms. They've added a lot of new content in, new tools, new game modes, 5 new game modes in fact, extra ways to earn money, daily and weekly missions, and crossplay is promised down the line as well. So PC, PlayStation, Xbox and Stadia, the devs have confirmed that they're looking to get that in, alongside extra difficulty settings, different level mutators so you can keep things interesting, and additional wearables, cosmetics, with a little bit of a UI overhaul, added achievements, and much, much more. We had a great time playing Embr, Richie, with Tom a couple of months back. I'm glad to see it's finally coming out of early access. It was fun at the time. It seemed like quite a complete game to begin with. But it's great to see they've gone in and maybe added a bit more longevity to it with dailies and weeklies and returning cosmetics.
Well, that's it. I think we pretty much finished Embr in our live streams of it. So it's nice to see them. Like, we've had more content. We've had a few more features. There's more game, and it's always nice is when you see a game just go, right, we're now willing to get rid of the early access title. This is the game. So congratulations to the dev for the actual proper release.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to seeing how well it does on other platforms. And again, it's another one of them games I'm happy to jump back in as part of a live stream. If our audience want to play with us, jump in on a Thursday. Always up for more Embr. Uber Firefighters at their absolute best. So go check out that title if you haven't done so already. It was a pro game, right? As well.
I think so, yeah.
I think so. And final good news stories of the week to wrap up this week's show, episode 101 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Nice little good story, Richie, from our friends over at EA. They are basically, they have 5 patents on gaming technology and they're giving it out for free to everybody. So good guys, EA. The biggest one for me is the ping system. So we know a lot of these businesses... Sorry, go ahead.
We should stress as well that these patents are all around accessibility. So they're all features are designed to help more people get into the gaming. So it's very good guys EA this week. Yeah,
which is a rare thing to say. We always say I think EA get a lot of shit for the wrong reasons. I don't think they're the worst company in the world, which I know they keep winning that terrible award every year in America, I think it is. But yes, 5 patents given out.
I think there's been a bit of change in culture in EA over the last few years. I think we're starting to see it. They're starting to view things differently. They're starting to make the moves differently. Like Jedi Fallen Order wouldn't have happened a couple of years before it did. Yeah, It Takes Two. They started, I think, the amount of slander they got for being the worst company in the world, I think is kind of caught up with them, and they've went in a different direction trying to address that.
Yeah.
So
good EA.
More power to them.
Power to them, yeah. And the ping system's great, and we've seen last week we covered it last week or the week before with Epic copying off Among Us.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, and Among Us said like, well, we didn't want to gatekeep like our game mechanics because we're very much under the impression that the foundations of gaming should be for all developers to utilize. And then Fortnite straight up just went and took their exact game and did just like they did with PUBG and that. But that's a whole conversation for a different day. But good guys are sharing their accessibility features like the ping system, which can now be shared with everybody. So congratulations and thank you for that. That does bring us, ladies and gentlemen, to an end to the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode 101, Dalmatians on the Run. Here we are, Richie, at the very end of the show. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening along. Thank you once again for all of your continued support. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. Check out the rest of the Helix Cloud Games channel because we bring you the Sounds of Stadia podcast. That name has not changed. It's still here and it never will change. Episode 101, we continue to the 200 mark. Exactly the same as before. Same 3 hosts, sometimes 2, and special guests. We actually have a special guest next week, Richie.
Cool.
I did mention it last week or the week before, but still signed, Octon. Guests upcoming. Loads of great new content. We have got some things in the pipeline. Keep it locked for the channel. Probably this Wednesday, I've been working on a little video. It's due to go live. Shows me playing Stadia, Destiny, FIFA and such. In a place you might not expect. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Don't forget, if you want to support myself, Richie and Tom a little bit more, you can click join down below on the YouTube video. From as little as 99p, you get special stickers to use in the chat, a badge next to your name, a nice little Stadia controller. And you also get access to our SideQuest episode up to 6 days early, where this week, Richie, we're going to go away and discuss...
Should Google spend more on Stadia?
in light, of course, of Google as a business giving Apple $15 billion to keep Google search engine as a default platform on iOS devices. That's no space change. So can they not afford some of that to give it to the good old Stadia platform? They may be already. We just don't know because they like to stay quiet, all secret. But that's for that whole show. Go check out SideQuest. Again, still here. Just because we're Helix Cloud Games, just because we're umbrellaed by a new brand and a new logo, this is what we're trying to stress, folks. The shows are still exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Go check out that if you can do. Anything to add, Richie? At the end of all of this, 101 episodes.
No, I mean, if you are new to the channel, go check out last week's SideQuest where we talked about our time as content creators. I think it's quite a good episode for those who might have come along a bit late and didn't know how we got started.
Yeah, certainly true. I was going to have a drink there right at the very end before I realised. We have to say goodbye. Thank you, everybody. That has been episode 101. Hope you have a great week in gaming. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia, brought to you by Helix Cloud Games. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Game on.